Wow, what an incredible fireside chat. And that was with Christopher and Maria. But at GatherVerse U Summit 2025, day 4, we have an incredible guest with us today. And in this fireside chat, we're going to be talking about steering tomorrow, guiding youth in the era of AI, XR, and blockchain. And our guest with us is the one and only Wishborn. Welcome.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself, and we'll get straight into this discussion because there is so much to cover and so many areas of technology to speak about. So,
sure. I'm a long story short. I'm an AI software developer, tech founder, business owner. I work with youth, teaching kids self-defense, martial arts, and mindset training.
Awesome, and I love that. Very straight to the point. Very simple. It's awesome, Wish. So, and also good to see you again as well, Wish. So,
of course.
Let's get into the discussion because there's so much to discuss. Which is, we'll start with in terms of AI and emerging technologies. How could you encourage more young people to engage in the development of AI and emerging technologies? What are your thoughts on that?
I think one of the benefits of being youthful is that you have a little bit less fear. So as we age, we have a tendency to let our mistakes kind of get in the way and prevent us from learning newer things. Kids don't have that problem as much. Like that, you throw them into the deep end and they'll try to swim. Most of them will sink, but they'll try to swim. And that's kind of like how they go. Like I think we don't really have so much of a problem in trying to encourage that. Like that's going to be a natural movement for kids, especially as it becomes more and more trendy to use AI. I think the trick there is steering them in the direction that, like a lot of the things that come up in here is like using AI ethically, like making sure that they're using systems or steering them towards AI systems and platforms that have proper guardrails, things like that. I think that's where the most of the work is done in terms of like onboarding a newer generation into this technology.
And how do you think we can guide, not only just within sort of AI, but also, blockchain technology too? Because, something that I think about or do think about quite a bit is that, all of these amazing technologies are coming together now. It's kind of like they're kind of all meeting each other. They're all getting within the glasses. For example, you've got the XR, within those glasses, and you've also got blockchain, which can then, mix with AI, right, and all this sort of stuff. So, how do we guide them in terms of all these sort of emerging technologies, kind of like coming together as one?
Sure. I think a combination of programs, having good STEM programs in schools is going to be a big one. Here in Milwaukee, where I'm at, a lot of the local colleges are creating more and more just how to use AI programs. So it's not necessarily like how to be an AI programmer. It's just like, here's an introduction to AI, like very simple courses that are open to everybody. And what's really cool about that too is that Milwaukee has if you're part of the Milwaukee public school system, then you have a pathway into the higher educational platforms.
Interesting. Okay.
So Milwaukee is fully embracing that. They recognize where technology is going, and they realize that in order for us as a community to work in that space, we have to make sure our youth, our coming generations, are prepared for that. And so they're putting a lot of attention into that. AI and blockchain, while they work together, they are kind of different beasts. Like blockchain doesn't have the dangers around it as much as AI does, But at the same time, like I think encouraging more and more people to just explore technology is a good thing. And this might be a bit of a controversial take, but I think that kids are growing up right now in one of the best times they could possibly ever grow up. Like we have a lot of troubling times. Like a lot of things are really hard, maybe not as hard as they were, 60, 70 years ago during, or whatever it was when we had World War II and World War I. But troubling times make for more creative thought, right? So kids are growing up in this time, they have access to more resources, but they're also dealing with different kind of problems. So that's creating this more intellectual approach to how we enter the adult space. You know,
it's interesting you say that, because my I'll kind of use a personal anecdote and sort of my experience. And my parents have said the complete opposite, right? When it comes to AI and stuff, they're like, well, I'm glad I lived in a time when internet and AI wasn't around, because I got to touch the ground and go outside and play and everything. So so I'm just gonna kind of add a different sort of angle to this. What do you think about that sort of aspect of, like, some people are like on the opposite end, right? You're on the end of, oh, this is the best time to be alive, but older potential generations like my mom and dad, for example, they're more on the other side in terms of that side. So what are your thoughts on that?
This two thoughts on that, really. Part of that, I think, is people fear what they don't understand. And the older generation, there's a lot of people in the older generations that don't understand AI or tech in general. So when they're looking at younger generations, how enthusiastic they are in getting into that tech, it's a fear to them. They're like, oh my God, this is brain rot. This is bad stuff. In my experience, though, in working with AI and kids, like, it's not the technology that's the problem. It's how we set up that technology, right? So, like, fire is technology. You put fire in the right hands, it's a very powerful tool. You put fire in the hands of a pyromaniac, it's not a good tool.
Right? Yeah.
So
you're saying more kind of like the developer side, like more the people building the AI itself rather than the AI itself. Is that kind of like what you're saying, like in terms of potentially, for example, like the data that's put into AI and stuff like that?
Yes, exactly. So these people have real concerns, right? So the thought of people not being able to have better communication skills, develop good communication skills by working one-on-one with people, which is a hard thing to do, right? And learning that, oh my God, I said something that offended somebody, I need to not say that again next time. Or AI is going to be like, oh, that was funny remark. Like, they're going to reward you for that, depending on the AI, of course, right?
Sure.
So those kind of like social cues and stuff like that kind of stuff could get met. But again, like, depends on how that AI is programmed. Sparky, for example, on our Spark platform, he's there to be a mentor in helping you launch businesses, but he doesn't give you answers. He says, okay, this is what we're working on. This is why we're working on it. He's explaining all the different steps to you. So he's not just generating a business plan for you. He's making you a better entrepreneur. And I think that AI used properly, it's just another tool. Like, if we set it up right, then we're going to empower generations instead of, we don't want it to be a prison, and we definitely don't want to have a scarcity kind of mindset where we're creating bars and prisons on purpose because we're afraid of this future. This future is coming no matter what. And either we find ways to embrace that in such a way to where we can guide it holistically and healthy, or if we let fear guide us, the people that don't really care about those things are going to be the ones that are dominating the space. You know what I mean? So it's like,
it kind of makes me think, like, of my younger self, right? Like, if I was born right now and I'm thinking, like, I'm the younger version of me, right? I'm thinking, right, okay, I'm growing up in this AI age and this AI time. Like, I guess my question to you is, what advice would you give to me, for example, or even potential other young leaders, looking to create like an impact on humanity through AI and other emerging technologies like blockchain, XR, for example?
And I would say it's probably the same advice I would give people getting into tech, or getting into problem solving in general. Get married to the problem itself. Focus on the problem. Technology itself is always going to change. AI, the way we use AI right now is going to be different than the AI we use 10 years from now. So getting stuck on trying to use technology as the thing that you're focused on, it can get you so far, but you're going to run into limits. If you're focused on the problem itself, it doesn't make a difference how the technology changes or what new technology comes on board. You're going to adapt because solving that problem is the thing that you're focused on, and you're going to continue to move towards that regardless of how markets change or any of that other kind of stuff. So I say, to answer your question, like would be the biggest thing is don't focus so much on the technology, just use whatever is available to you.
Interesting. And then I want to ask you this as well. How do we create a culture of like curiosity, creativity? I mean, we had that on the last panel as well, and responsible innovation when it comes to the next generation. Like, how do we create that like curiosity and creativity, like the culture, so to speak?
That's a great question. Mentorship, apprenticeship, like that is, I think, creating a culture first of that. And it's not like we don't have that in our culture, but it's not apprenticeship is not one of the pathways that we usually promote when it comes to excellence, right? It's usually, it's go to school, you do your K through 12, then you go to higher education, etc. And then maybe if you're lucky, you could find a job. Where apprenticeship is a completely different pathway. You're actually working with somebody of a mastery or expert level already. It's like a professor or something like that, but your training is on the job training. You're learning as you're going. So you're making all these mistakes in real use cases. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing, is creating a culture around that and leading by example. If more people in positions of authority say, okay, you know what, I'm not afraid of this technology. I'm going to adopt it and use it to better my life, better my business. And then our kids growing up are going to see that. They're going to be like, okay, well, here's somebody that, that did what I want to do, and here's how they did it. Because that's all, success leaves clues. And if we look for those clues and we follow it, then we can achieve success ourselves.
No, I do agree with you on that, Wish. And education is very important, right? I think no matter what your age is, or what your industry you're in, or what tech you even do, right? Education is fundamental to keep growing, to become more versatile and all these different technologies. And also to, I mean, think about it, right? We're in the age now where AI, VR, XR, blockchain, etc. Like, you have to be versatile in all these different technologies, and be able to be versatile when it comes to your job as well, right? So I guess my next question for you, when it comes to XR in particular, and I'll finish on this question because we have to round this chat up, which is, what are the most promising applications of XR in disrupting youth education and training when it comes to the learning side of things?
Oh man, I could speak at so much great length on this one, but I'll make it short. I think, well, XR, what's amazing about XR is that it merges the digital and analog, right? So now we have access. Now we're bringing this unlimited space that is the digital realm, right? Because there's literally unlimited amount that you can do and what is possible within that digital realm. It's ones and zeros, and as long as you know how to configure it, you can do it. Versus the analog world, which is finite resources and etc. So now we're bringing this space of unlimited capacity into a space of limited capacity, and I think that's going to completely change the way we engage with our environments. It's going to make education and information far more accessible. Like, we can learn all on the go. Well, the way we look at schools, it's going to completely change. It's no longer going to be, one teacher per 20 students, and then when the teacher tries to ask a question, one student is the one that gets the glory of being the smart kid, right? Because they're the one that gets to answer that question. In an XR situation, one teacher can teach 1,000 students, but that student gets the impression that they're the only student working with that student. Or if the teacher says, okay, what's the answer to this question? They raise their hand, they get picked, because in an XR situation or XR environment, that's how it unfolds. Like, they get picked, they get a chance to answer. So every single kid gets a chance to answer. So I think it's going to increase our rate of accelerate our the way we educate kids and ourselves.
Okay.
It's going to make our environments, and it's going to connect us a lot more. So when I'm out and about, walking down the street, instead of having to be in my phone, which takes me away from the world around me.
That's true.
Now I could be talking to my mom, have, like notifications coming up on the side while I'm walking down the street, smiling at the guy I'm walking past at the same exact time, because now these worlds are blended together. So full
No, I
support.
mean, I will speak up on the mobile standpoint. I get the train to and from London, and when I'm staring at my phone and I've been on there for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and then I finally get on the train, I look up and I'm like, whoa, like it's like blurry, not literally blurry vision, but it's like you're in a whole nother world.
Yeah.
After you get off the train and you've been looking at your phone for God knows how long. So I can contest on that experience. And on that note, Wish, we're going to have to round things up. So thank you so much for joining us. And it's been a fantastic day 4 for GatherVerse Youth Summit. And we had so much interesting discussions there in guiding the youth from the era of AI, XR, and blockchain. And everyone, make sure you go and follow Wish on LinkedIn, connect with him. And on that note, I'm going to hand it back over to Christopher, who will be finishing things off. So on that note, see you later, and I'll see you back tomorrow for day 5 for GatherVerse Youth Summit. But on that note, goodbye, and hand over to Christopher.
Just today, what we were just privy to hear from a bevy of different experts that come to us quite literally from around the world. You've heard talks and conversations of trust and safety and ethics. You heard expressions of well-being and wellness and mental wellness. You heard expressions on how youth are spending their time and how they collaborate and design in the future. We're each of us professionals moving so fast, and we barely have time for our own selves, let alone for the generations to arrive. But if we stop just for a moment to say, my goodness, am I moving so fast that I'm about to leave the ones who come after us behind? No child should ever be left behind. With GatherVerse, we passionately do this work freely to create the global cloud consensus, a hive mind, if you will, of expression. But it was never meant just to sit here and express behind our screens and cameras. The idea was for you to take what it is that you've come to hear and understand in these venues, in these events, these global summits, and to do something about it. Because if not you, then who? These conversations that we hold are some of the most cutting edge, whether you can appreciate that or not. We don't encouch ourselves in gizmos and gadgets and devices. I'm a huge fan of innovation in hardware and technology to the core. But I'm an even better fan of sustainability. We may find ourselves sooner rather than later innovating for an audience that's no longer adopting and subscribing and listening because they can't afford it, they can't afford to purchase, and they can't afford to build it. And if we as human beings can't afford to purchase and to build it, then the machines will make themselves available to be able to build and innovate things that we no longer have the resources to do such. You know, we talk so much about frontier intelligence and talk about the global impact of these devices on humanity. But I still see poverty all throughout this world. I still see hurt and hate and violence and war. How much progress have we truly made? And are we as far along as we profess ourselves to be? Or are those just marketing merchant men and women selling us an idea that's not grounded in reality? I enjoy an Apple product as much as the next person. But the reality is, not everybody's life is the same. Not everyone's circumstances is the same ecologically. And moreover, many people want the opportunity to build, and they don't even have electricity in their homes to do such. If we just take a time, folks, just take a moment to innovate for sustainability. will be far better off in this world of innovation. Your success does not have to be predicated on $1 billion becoming a unicorn. I don't believe that $1 billion could truly build a successful metaverse, but I believe that 1 billion hearts can. And for me, and to me, that makes all the difference. We come to greet you tomorrow at GatherVerse New Summit 2025, Day 5, our final day. Week 2, our final week. If tomorrow were the last day that we ever have for GatherVerse again, I wonder what it is that people would express and share. And my only desire is that when they do express and that they share from their hearts. And I hope that you would share these experiences and let them know that a group of people came together, a small group, for a moment etched in time to do just a little bit better to sustain this project, this experiment, this operation that we find ourselves in. And that our gather was well. Thank you.
She sold my new blue jeans. My father was a gambling man on down in New Orleans. Now the only thing a gambler needs is a suitcase and a trunk. And the only time he's satisfied is when he's on a drug. Oh, mothers, tell your children not to do what I have done. Spend your lives in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. Well, I got one foot on the platform, the other foot Well, there is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. And God, I know